Well, I feel a little overdressed to be sitting on some art before it's installed. It's all part of a special project called Metamorphosis. The artist is with us today, Monique Martin. And first of all, we've talked to you before, but is this the biggest sort of project you've had?
No, actually I have one nobody knows about yet, and it's bigger.
Okay, okay, but to date, okay, well, to date, this is the biggest one.
Yeah,
so this is a collaboration between you and the Saskatoon Symphony. Tell us how this came about.
Actually, I started the Butterflies during the pandemic because my students I was at a fine arts school at the time, were really worried about all the changes that kept happening. Every day was something different. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. So I decided to buy butterflies, put them in my little greenhouse, and on video, we watched the whole life cycle. And we talked about how butterflies don't know what's happening next. We don't know what's happening next. And pretty soon I'm making 25,000 butterflies. You know, it just happened that way. But it was all about change and being okay with change. Like that butterfly goes into the chrysalis and it's all goo and doesn't know what's next, right? And I think every day we wake up and we're slightly different than we were the day before. And those little changes we don't notice, but we do notice the big ones. And I think we just need to celebrate all the changes. You know, getting older, you know, wrinkles, all that stuff.
And all these changes are going to be complemented by the music that the Saskatoon Symphony is going to be presenting. What kind of collaboration happens there between the artist and the musician?
Actually, she spent time with me while I was creating this, the conductor, and Mark and I talked a lot about how we would want this to look. And I actually approached them to do this because Judith and I had talked about the butterflies. And
Judith is the
conductor. And we talked about how the music could complement this and how having a fully immersive exhibition for people changes how they feel. Like they're going to be surrounded by real trees. There's stuff on the floor. There's stuff on the ceiling. There's no way to think, what's on my phone? You know.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. So there's going to be that. This series for me is called Breath Turn. So everybody can take a breath and just be in the moment. Sit on the floor cloth and look up at the butterflies.
Now, as we were rolling up, we saw some of these trees. These aren't like shrubs. These are big old trees that are being moved into place here. What kind of a challenge is that? Not just for you, but for this space, this church.
Well, we had to figure out how heavy they were, that's for sure, and how to get them through the door. There's been a lot of challenges with scale, but we're very excited. We don't know how big the canopies are yet because they're not off the truck. So we're hoping they're not, you know, too big. All of these installation things where you're working with a space that you're not in all the time, there's some surprises always. You know, it happens.
Now, the concert there's one sold-out show. The concert is happening on Saturday, yes. But there are other things, because this installation doesn't go away Sunday morning. It's sticking around for a while.
Thankfully, because it's a lot of work to get it up. Yes, it's staying up for an extra week, and we're doing yoga, drop-in yoga for donation to the symphony. And on Tuesday, a group of students I worked with, we silkscreen costumes and did all kinds of things in the classroom. They're performing. And then on Thursday, there's also a piano recital.
Now, there's so much going on. We're sitting on some of the artwork right now. Will this be on the floor? Is this where the audience will be sitting? On the floor?
Actually, the musicians sit on this. Okay. But the backs of the pews actually have student art very similar to this, so the whole exhibition continues throughout the church. But the actual musicians play on the floor cloth. I put it together like a big puzzle because there's 14 pieces, and they are 5 meters long by 1.5 meters wide. They're big.
Yes, yes, they are indeed. Just before we wrap up here, over and above the conceiving of this idea, but physically, how long has it taken you to paint these, create those butterflies? What's with the physical process of actually building this?
Okay, this is actually silk screened like your t-shirts. Okay. So I use like screens, and I was on my knees for 5 months. So I did downward dog for about 5 months. Hard on the body.
Fair, but now you're super flexible.
Exactly, exactly. And the butterflies I started in 2019, and I'm still doing them. Okay. I do, it takes an hour per color, per side, and there's 35 colors per side. And then I hand cut them out.
That is a lot of work, and everyone will have the wonderful advantage of being able to see it and enjoy it without having to do the work when they come and see this immersive installation right here. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time today.
No problem. Thanks for coming out.